Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today's conversation is one I've been looking forward to. I'm Danielle Patterson, CEO at Family Office Access, and today's conversation is all about family offices, how they're navigating a new set of decisions around AI, not just investing in the category, but evaluating where AI fits in governance, diligence, risk, operations, and long-term continuity. I'm grateful to be joined today by two highly respected experts who have been living at the center of this evolution. First, I'd like to welcome Jason Ma, founder and CEO of 3EQ. Jason is an award-winning mentor to next-gen leaders and a senior advisor to select single-family offices. Over 4 decades across AI, tech, education, finance, and media, he has mentored and advised hundreds of principals and next gens on capital decisions, leadership, and global deal making. He also serves as the CBO and investor at applied AI venture AdZero and brings a unique lens on imagination, category creation, and the human side of investing. Thank you for being here, Jason.
Thank you for inviting. I appreciate it.
Next, Angelo Robles, founder and CEO of SFO Continuity and Billionaire Mastermind. Angelo has spent over 2 decades working directly with more than 100 of the world's wealthiest families. His work focuses on governance, continuity, AI transformation, sovereign wealth architectures built to endure. Practitioner with deep exposure to how geopolitics, risk, and multi-generational strategy. He previously founded and exited Family Office Association and was one of the most recognized family office networks globally. Angelo, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, and greetings to see both of you. Danielle, Jason, great to see you again.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Well, before we jump in, I just wanted to thank you both personally. I have admired your work for a long time and had the privilege of interviewing each of you individually through our masterclass series. And for those who want to revisit those conversations, we have Madison from our team joining us live. She'll drop those in the chat. And I'm very excited. You're both such influential voices of this sector. It's fun to bring you both together in this unique format. Now it is live, so thank you to our audience for joining us and making the conversation what it will be. We'd love to weave you into the conversation, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we'll do our best to make time for it all. I know with the depth and breadth of your expertise, we'll probably hardly scratch the surface, but hopefully we'll leave people wanting more and continue these conversations. So much has changed since those interviews that I did with you both in the past years. And right now the world is moving at lightning speed. AI, it's cheaper to build on, regulatory, geopolitical dynamics, everything is shifting. And AI has really moved from theory into real case scenarios. But I don't know that the family office world has quite adapted. And so that's really where we will be focusing our conversations. And I would love to just kind of give the opportunity to hear from both of you, with your work that you directly do with family offices. I'd love to know what's driving their interest in AI right now, whether it's from an investment opportunity or the operational efficiency or risk management or all of it. I just would love to start there, kind of high level.
Okay, why don't we get started? Since the theme of a talk here, I guess, Daniel, is about maybe broadly investing, but also using AI within a family office, right?
Absolutely.
So when it comes to investing, as we all know, right, single family offices, ultra net worth families, I guess a broad mission is to preserve wealth and to grow wealth. What I find is that the multi-billionaire SFOs families, they tend to be a bit more conservative in terms of deploying cash to try to make another 10 billion. They tend not to do that. They tend to be a bit more conservative. But what I find is that the 8-9 figure, I call it, my joke is the ordinary centimillionaire, they don't mind adding another zero to their net worth. So some of them are a bit more, maybe a little more aggressive, take more risk. But if you like to get higher MOIC, right, the multiple over invested capital, you do have to look at certain categories. So when it comes to AI, just as a broad, I guess, description, right? You
Right.
have AI. It's about your. Let me start from at the base. You have Jensen Huang staffing all the way to the bank, NVIDIA. You got energy feeding into the GPU chips, right? And
Yes.
you got the data centers, all the rage. Trump administration did a great job, brought back trillions, a lot of sovereign funds. Let them pay for it. Let them invest. And the moist bear don't expect that much at all. But we are so behind China in infrastructure. We do have to accelerate building the capacity, building processing, which is a different thing for minerals and all that.
Right.
And so you got the cloud AI, you got the edge AI, and you have the applied AI applications is where the growth is where the for the small fraction of all the AI ventures out there that are creating new categories that are solving real problems that are going to be make a lot of enemies because they're going to be disrupting legacy industries. Some of them is going to make it. They're going to be spectacular. You've been minting billionaires left and right. You've seen that happening already, right? Anthropic,
Wild West, yeah.
7 co-founders became all billionaires in 2.5 years, right? 4 years, less than 4 years. But they still have to spend a lot of billions on buying data center capacity to do the training, do the processing. And then, AI, it's much about, data and algorithms and there's horizontal, there's vertical. So it's very exciting. I tend to as for myself, as a super selective investor, I tend to look at things that would come in that's going to disrupt a large industry, solve real problems, not BS, large enough a MOIC to be attractive, like 100 plus MOIC, MOIC, or hundreds of MOIC. An extreme example is when Michael Cheriton, who is a Stanford professor, his MOIC was over 10,000x. He wrote a $100,000 check to Google in its very early phase, and it made over $1 billion. Do the math, right? Now, I'm not saying that happens on a day-to-day basis, but it's a bit of a rarity. But it's out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there. I'll cap my talk for now. I'm sure you have enough. You have follow-on questions.
Well, that was a great foundation. I mean, thank you for helping us see the whole interconnected ecosystem. I mean, when we're talking about AI, it's not one thing. It's very interconnected. And I'd love for Angelo to add in as well, how he's currently having these conversations around AI with family offices.
Of course, again, a pleasure to be on. And I broadly agree with Jason's comments, but to go perhaps in a little different direction to make it an engaging program, just think how relatively nascent for most of us this is. For most of us, it was ChatGPT. And when was that? November of 2022, a little over 3 years ago. Look how much it improved. And look at the ecosystem now. It is shocking. Not 10 years, not 20 years, effectively 3 years. The majority of family offices, what makes them successful is people, technology, and systems. If you would have asked me a year and a half, 2 years ago, I probably would have put technology number 3 and systems, although I could say people create systems, technology enhances it. It's semantics. We are going to hit a point, and your audience is not going to like to hear this. Currently, the best of the best, arguably Gemini 3 for deep reasoning, ballpark has about a 140, 145 IQ. That's not the total measure of intelligence or creativity and imagination. It's somewhat limiting, but it's a bit of a benchmark. Think of that enhancement where it might have been in the 90s or 80s 3 years ago. If it doubles in power, and energy could be a problem, Jason hinted at that with infrastructure and energy, then we're talking about it's going to go to a different level. If Einstein was 160, a moron's IQ is 80. That's a multiple of 2.4x when you look at it in terms of how that's measured. Basically, Einstein's going to be the moron in ballpark probably about 3 or 4 years. We're in a very, very different world. In other words, honestly, we're heading to a world one day, and not 20 years from now. Not 1 year, but not 20, where technology, effectively AI, is going to be the number one driver. It effectively is what it is. What stands in the way of most people in family offices? Ego, arrogance or ignorance. We were catching up a little bit about that earlier, and effectively fear. Now, I use myself as an example, and I'm not afraid to throw it out there. I'm a 60-year-old man. I'm an old man. I don't know much about technology. And I learned about AI because I use it for multiple hours every day. Now, yes, I help build systems for family offices and educate them too, but I'm someone who barely knows how to use my TV remote. And I created my own app with no help that I got up on the App Store, which is not easy, trust me. And I used vibe coding, meaning I spoke what I want, it created it. Now I had to do about 10,000 iterations. We'll ignore that part of it. But with no engineering help at all, I created an app. The future of software as a service, what many of you use, what many of you invest, it's going to be trashed, wrecked, as the young ones like to say, very, very soon. AI agents 24/7, that's 168 hours a week. Could a human compare with that? Now, humans may need to orchestrate, may need to have the imagination and have the trust of the older, quote unquote, family members and principals. But the world is changing. I'm going to end my open commentary there. We're going to talk about more fun things like public and private companies to invest in, broadly the ecosystem, what is sovereign AI. Maybe I was a little somber in my open, but I'm just telling you from my reality, from my experience and what I see traveling the world, implementing AI for family offices globally.
Right. I'm seeing a note that Danielle is having some temporary tech issues. I guess, Angelo, you and I will continue the conversation. To segue in what you said, you're so right. Not only within AI adoption within a family office, within ultra network families, right? And, when it comes to investing, what I see out there consistently is that there's probably two types of investors, right? When it comes to SFO, single family offices, you have those that are mere centimillionaires to multi-billionaires. You got entrepreneurial investors versus institutional investors with a large team. Now, once you have a large team, you got people working for you. Their metrics are different. Their performance review metrics are different than the principal, the matriarch, the patriarch, the decision makers, or maybe a few next gens that are decision making. So the metrics are different. Oftentimes, the mindsets are a little bit different as well. The skill sets are a little bit different, right? Like my friends are mostly the principals, the fathers, the parents, the next gens, and I like to deal with them directly to cut out all the bullshit. Okay, and what I see out there is that when it comes to if you are let's say you're $100 million and then you want to add a zero to your net worth, right? It's my joke. It's a good joke. I joke around all the time. I like to yank people's chain just for fun, right? And it's like what I see out there. I hate to say it, but there's so much linear thinking, almost small thinking. Like Angelo mentioned SaaS. I'm a SaaS pioneer. I was like the managing director for Asia Pacific for a bunch of tech companies, including iPass, global internet roaming service, corporate remote access service back in the 90s, right? So it's like we were like just pure technical sales and marketing execution through the 90s and different tech companies as well. SaaS model, selling infrastructure is more linear sales. Salesforce, for example, to comprise the 30 billion in revenue, they need to have like tens of thousands of customers, lots of SMEs, lots of enterprises. But you could have ventures out there just with a few, you could hit $1 billion in revenue. I kid you not, right? So, but I see so much fixed mindset. It kind of shocks me when I talk to some of my connections that have you even watched the very popular TED Talk, Mindset? Have you read the book or listened to the book by Carol Dweck, a famous Stanford professor, about fixed mindset versus growth mindset? Some of them don't even know what the hell that is. That shocks me, right? So in the AI era, things are so fast moving. The geopolitics around that is so volatile. You have changes constant on steroids. Okay. Yes. So my strong advice is if you want to seize great opportunities, make sure that you are entrepreneurial enough and possess what I call a visionary growth mindset. Okay. and make sure your big ego, like what Angelo mentioned, your big ego is shelved before you talk to the entrepreneurs, before you are lucky enough to attract the great entrepreneurs, and make sure that your assumptions, right? Because if your assumptions, if your premise is wrong, then your decisions and actions are going to be wrong as well. If you're off the mark in your premise, and my first question to you is really, how did you derive your premise? How did your assumptions come about? I'm more interested in that because I want to analyze the inputs that goes into your mindset, your mind and soul, right? Because if your premise is wrong, then your decision making and your actions or inaction or indecision is going to be off the mark. It's that simple. Okay, Sequoia Capital has got about 7 or 8 billionaire GPs. The way they invest is actually not that difficult, man. Whenever I hear people, young and old, investing in early stage tech companies, AI companies, that what they say to me, the first thing is that, oh, we're going to do massive, big due diligence on that. It's like, I'm shaking my head, man. You know, my joke is that, okay, make sure you do DD on a team to make sure that they're not serial killers. That's the most important thing.
Right.
But it's a very different mindset compared to analyzing like hedge funds or public companies or later stage where there's a lot of data for you to analyze. Especially staff working for principals, then you have to cover your ass, right? Bluntly speaking, then those metrics are different. You have to analyze to make sure to minimize the probability of getting sued, especially for GPs in VC funds, because you work for the LPs and you have to account to the LP GP agreement. And I see it all the time, right? I've been in Silicon Valley for 52 years. There's not much I haven't seen in terms of the dynamics and the cultures, the ugly, I call it the ugly, the bad, the neutral, the good, and the great. I see the culture, the ways and means. And it's kind of like the first thing I when I talk to people, is like, I'm zooming into your mind and soul. I want to know how you think and why you think like that. Then I can predict how you're going to go, right? That's where my chief mentor hat comes in.
Yes.
It's being a practical psychologist. So in summary, like Angelo mentioned, you know, check your fixed mindset, really accelerate to build a growth mindset, learn. And that's what even Jamie Dimon mentioned, learn, and really grow, learn, check your ego, and build more of a visionary growth mindset. So more on the soft side.
Well, that's powerful in terms of family offices looking to invest in these early stage AI. I'm curious to hear from Angelo, the families actually adopting AI into their operations. I imagine you need the same sort of growth mindset. And what are you seeing with the work you do, Angelo, in the way that you're educating on different tools and processes to create more efficiencies? Are you being met with resistance?
In short, yes. Jason said something that was so profound. I think I need to comment, and then it does segue into your question. He's 100% correct. We're both effectively psychologists, but really historians and first principles thinkers at heart. We're in a community that is bifurcated and siloed, and AI is amplifying things where best practices and benchmarking, they're not of no value, they're of limited value. Most families, most family offices are average. It doesn't mean they're not well-meaning and good people. And I think people like me and Jason could make them better. But I look at it, you got to break things down with first principles thinking and look at cause and effect. When you talk, and one of my books, Billionaire Mastermind, my members have access to, it'll be more publicly available later this year, talks about some of the things about, do we really have free will? How do we process information? What information do we take in? Is it conflicted? How do we form a thesis? So I completely concur. Jason and I may have little different perspectives of getting there and our own biases that we all have, but this is important to do. And that does segue into, again, first principles thinking and what is going to be the impact, the cause and effect of your decisions and how do you adapt? It's not the smartest or the strongest. It's going to be those that are most likely to adapt. Wow. In terms of really directly getting to your question, the answer is the vast majority over 90% of family offices. And we're going to talk about investing. Jason's probably going to take more of the lens of a private investor in private companies. I'll do more public, and I'll mention names. So hopefully you'll walk away with some really bad stock tips. But besides that, the majority of family offices are usually going to be family members and executives that are often, and again, I could say this because I'm an older man, definitively over 40, often over 50. They have a level of success. I mentioned earlier, you could and I'm human too. Ego, ignorance, and fear get in the way. Angelo talks about AI can make your family office do more, kind of with less. That's the scary part, better and faster. And there's no doubt about it because I'm doing it, not only in my own portfolio and effectively small family office structures, what I do with other families. There's certain things in productivity I 30 to 50x. There's practically everything else I 2 to 10x. And again, now that AI agents are getting better, now that, and I won't get too technical, there's opportunities to have them be longer in their goals and effectively kind of self-fulfilling, almost AGI-like. Things are happening very, very rapidly. Things are changing. So most family offices are somewhat archaic. They do not maximize technology. They think that by having some of the latest fintech software, they're checking the box on AI. They're not. Most of that software is AI lipstick. And again, a lot of it being SaaS is going to be outdated. You could probably create your own apps that are going to be more controlled, private, and better and more targeted for you. Are we a little early now for some of it? Sure. Is that going to get much better in 6 months, a year, and 2 and 3 years? No doubt about it. It's a little bit like, do you want to learn to drive on a crowded freeway in LA? That's hard. Or do you want to learn to drive in a more empty parking lot? Right now, that AI parking lot is relatively empty. If I could learn it, you could learn it. It's more than just Chat GPT. You need to understand the core 4 to 5 platforms. You need to know, by the way, when you're using them, you're kind of bleeding your IP because you're somewhat, now I could get a little technical here, I won't. You're somewhat training the system. You need to bring some of your AI to be sovereign. You need to learn how to use Olama. You need to learn how to download proprietary open platforms that you control. They're going to be more limited, but you want it in a limited structure anyway, which again, you don't really have the time to get into now. If you're not understanding how to create apps, how to have the AIs battle each other, how to use AI agents, and how to integrate it all, and I go back to, again, if I could do it, you can do it. I'm no better than any of you. And this is the foundation of family offices. It's not just that they need to be smaller and more nimble for the sake of that. The whole foundation of family offices moving forward and how I'm building and creating them globally is completely different than what I did even 3 years ago, definitely 5 or 6 years ago. We are heading into a dynamic time. But again, going back to your question, this is a tiny percentage of family offices. When I announced my ebook, which was totally dedicated to single family offices and AI, I sent it to 45,000 people 3 times, meaning all you have to do is request it from me. My MailChimp, my database. I got about 50 total responses. That's it. That's it. And how many of those 50 read it? Probably 10 or 20%. Now, I updated that book because AI changes so quickly 2 times since then.
Wow.
That's 10 things every family office should be doing now in AI. They don't care, the majority of them. And honestly, in 5 years, they won't have a job and most family offices will effectively dissolve.
Right. And, I'd like to add to that, when, using AI within a family or just individually within a family office, like for me, I'm completing a JSON mark clone using Gen AI. And that helps me to be a bit more productive. That helps me solve some problems, not to mention research. But for example, you got OpenAI, Chat GPT, you got Grok, XAI Grok, you got, you got Anthropic Claude, you got Google Gemini, which is catching up or caught up in some ways, right? 3.0 and 5.2 thinking. It is so smart, so intelligent, right? So it saved me time, and it could do things I cannot do. There's certain things that it knows how to do better than I do right now. So it's more intelligent, right? And I set up a clone to be more productive and to save me time. And, I'm actually a little bit, Angelo said he's an old man. I'm actually older than Angelo, but I got Gen Z energy, but bring baby boomer wisdom. And so that's one recommendation. And in my tech company at Zero, my founder, CEO, CTO, Robert, he is smart as hell, man. He's visionary technologist. He said, dude, man, all this BS about AI agents, he was like programming that 10 years ago. My first job out of Berkeley Engineering, I majored in industrial engineering and operations research, 1984. That's how old I am from Berkeley Engineering. My first job was a data scientist. And we were in a management sciences, network analysis and design engineer at TimeNet. TimeNet, Telenet were the pre-internet pioneers. A bunch of internet pioneers came out from that. We were already planning AI 41 years ago. Okay. And I was like analyzing data all the time, right? And by the way, IOR major in Berkeley to drive people nuts, drive my family nuts, because when I walk into a room, I could optimize that. I could I'm thinking on how to, man, you guys are
ahead of everyone else.
I kind of think like that. So I think the greatest loss to me in oftentimes, right, from an investing standpoint or from an ignorance standpoint, is really major opportunity loss. Oftentimes it comes with long-term regret. So part of my job when people work with me, if you are my, say, private client, right, I would help you to maximize your gains and to eliminate or minimize your major opportunity loss that you don't even know that you're gonna incur a couple of years later or sooner. And people hate to regret, right? Long-term regret, relationships, financial, et cetera. So I think Danielle, you have
absolutely.
more questions.
Well, thank you both. I love both of your perspectives, and kind of my takeaway, especially Angelo, those statistics. It's a shame you are providing so much value, and people just are kind of missing the boat. They aren't being 10 steps ahead of where they need to be. And hopefully, I'm very optimistic. I always am. Hopefully they adopt this growth mindset and they start to open their eyes to the ways that they can leverage these tools or even invest directly. But I'm curious, as they start to do this and we see family offices becoming more reliant on technology and AI and more efficient, what part of the work still absolutely needs human beings? And, where people matter, no matter how good the tech gets, what are the qualities? Because I have a hard time as a mother. I know you both have children, where to steer them, where they should be learning, learning how to integrate artificial intelligence, learning how to work with it, or focusing on the creative sides that it can't fulfill. So I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on that.
It will be able to fulfill all of that in a long enough time horizon. So what do we have as humans? We have the need. We're biological creatures. We have hormones. We are human. We feel something that is hard to define as something called love. Is imagination in a new world order more important than knowledge? Well, it's relative. If I need brain surgery tomorrow, I want someone who's really, really knowledgeable. I may not care too much about their imagination. But in reality, I think we're heading to a world with young people that I talk to, and Jason has deep experiences with this. But when I talk to younger family members or at universities, I talk about that imagination may be more important than knowledge. Now, I think the whole educational system, it's going to be very protected by those entrenched, but it's incredibly limiting. It goes back to a model from the 1800s in Germany to basically for the masses. And AI is going to completely, or should, upend what we know as education. We do need the ability for our imagination, our ability to love, our empathy, the uniqueness that makes us human, but to assume that there's not going to be singularity and aspects within AI as it progresses from AGI to ASI that is going to be able to duplicate and maybe enhance and be better in some ways. And I don't want to get too scary. How are we going to keep up with the IQ that could be collective intelligence that can't even be measured? We may be at a point in the future, I'm not saying today or tomorrow, where we may need to combine man and machine, quote unquote. Maybe that's what Elon and others are doing now with some of their quote unquote companies. How are we going to compete if not? Now, will there be people that could go off in variants of what we see with the Amish? I think that will increase. There'll be a religious uptick, I think, for people that want to not be as active in that part of technology. That may get into a deeper discussion with me and Jason when I have him on my platform. That's going to be more geopolitical and a little bit more global from that perspective. I don't want to bog and tie down your audience with that. But I would be careful to note, Danielle, and for the people that you know, that like you are not safe longer term as you describe it. I am already working with multi-billionaires where basically 1 to 3 people in their family office is kind of enough. And by the way, they're doing great. They are wickedly fast. They're so fast that the traditional 20, 30 person larger family office has no chance of keeping up with them. Zero. They are built on first principles thinking. They're smart people. They're utilizing an AI framework. They have multiple correct systems and standard operating procedures in place. They have diversity and domicile in terms of what they're doing, but let's not bog down too much in infrastructure of SFOs. That's not the core concept that we're talking about today. You know, and this may segue into, I know you definitely want to go pretty hard on investing because audiences are always very interested in that. The future of capitalism, and you're kind of talking to a Captain America here, an extreme capitalist. The future of capitalism and future within 20 years, probably sooner, is going to radically change. As AI figures out fusion energy and energy costs inevitably come down to near zero, and labor costs, mainly through robotics, AI agents, but a combination of the two, and other things we're not even thinking of yet. The future of capitalism is going to change when energy and labor is effectively zero or near zero. Now we could get into societal upheaval, loss of jobs, how our bills going to be paid. Are we going to need universal base income? Those are probably deeper discussions. We can maybe touch on them today if you want. I do not. I have more questions than answers. I can get it. We are in very, very interesting times. And I'm just afraid that most people have their head in the sand. Most family offices are totally ignorant to it, and they could do something about it. As an executive, I could almost assure you, I could help you be more gainfully viable and employed for at least 5 or 10 years, if not longer. And I think if you strictly ignore this, you may be looking at a window of closer to 1 to 3 years.
Wow.
Right. You know, Angelo mentioned about imagination. Here's a quote from Sequoia Capital, now former managing partner, Rudolph Bota. He and I sat on a panel beating up Stanford students a couple of years ago. One of the 2 or 3 judges, we were joking around. He said, my biggest mistake as an investor is a failure of my imagination.
Wow.
That's Sequoia Capital, the number one VC firm on earth with 7 or 8 billionaire GPs. Okay, he was humble enough to say that. It's very profound, right? Because when you're betting on your investment, the most important thing you're betting on is really the team. Can the team execute the vision that you bought into?
Yes.
That's it. Let them go, man. Their slogan is entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, not institutional bureaucrats for entrepreneurs, right? You see the difference there?
Yeah.
And your question relates more to the soft side, including critical thinking. Now, my role in my family business, 3EQ, in my tech company at Zero, I would say I'm a chief mentor, global rainmaker, major deal maker, and a speaker. I get invited to speak everywhere, right? All sorts of family office summits. I'm going to put my chief mentor hat on for a second here.
Yes.
My mentorship framework, and I've mentored mostly younger people, plus some older people with gray hair. My framework, I've been doing that for over 20,000 hours. So I'm speaking from a lot of data pattern recognition, patterns that work, patterns that don't work. I'm a total pragmatic psychologist, right? Pragmatic means results oriented and
Right.
also pragmatic.
Right.
And I tell my Gen X CEO friends like Angelo that you guys kick ass, man, because the Gen X CEOs, they get shit done. They get things
Yes.
done. Practical,
Yeah.
right? Now, when it comes to, 4S stands for visionary, story, state, strategy,
Mhm.
soft skills, execution ability. Okay.
Mhm.
And then 3EQ stands for practical, emotional, social leadership intelligence. Not just EQ, which is very
Mhm.
trite, emotional intelligence, but 3EQ. It's grammatically incorrect. Who cares? Okay. Emotional, social leadership intelligence. Social means that your empathy in action. Compassion is empathy in action with other people. Okay,
Mm.
Eric Yuan, I used Zoom for 15 years. I brought him in as an investor, as a board member with my previous education company. He's a founder and CEO and chairman of Zoom. So guys, welcome to using Zoom. I've been doing it for 15 years, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And he's a compassionate leader. People love him.
Mm.
Despite his thick accent,
Mhm.
people love him because he's so compassionate, so good with people, right? He
Yeah.
loves employees, he loves customers, make sure employees are taken care of so that they could take care of customers.
Yeah.
You can feel it, right? It's a
Yeah.
great product. Nothing comes close, right? And when it comes to the story part, and I'll go to critical thinking later. The story part is your what what what's your how does your belief system look like? Are the
Mhm.
limiting beliefs holding you back? Fixed mindset. Or
Yes.
do you have empowering practical beliefs that's going to grease the path for you to move into the short, medium, long term in your success with well-being, better relationships, better legacy, not to
Mhm.
mention make even more money, preserve your wealth, right? So
Yes.
hit all those things. And what's your how's your character?
Right.
The sum of all habits and choices. Reflect a bit. I think it's very smart for people to step back, reflect a bit more about what can I do to improve. You see, on a daily basis, I ask the good Lord to improve me, to correct me, so
Yes.
that I'm like incrementally improving on a daily basis, right? So I'm very conscious. I'm very aggressive as a world-class learner. That's
Yes.
part of what I instill into my students is
Yes.
become or to be even a better world-class learner, to learn things quickly. And so your critical thinking, your strategic thinking, your curiosity, extremely importantly, your communication skills, right? Listening, one-on-one conversation, public speaking, writing, first-person essay writing. I don't teach expository. School teaches
Right.
you that. Your
Right.
collaboration, social skills. You need to have that as a great leader, whether you're
Right.
an investor or as a CEO or as a parent, for God's sakes, right? I
Right.
coach parents as well. And
Right.
I love it when these ultra network parents suddenly say, Jason, teach me to be a better parent. Coach me to communicate a little bit better with my children. Because relationships matter, legacies matter. I got one parent saying that we're going to be empty nesters. What did I do, Jason? What did I do? Right? I got parents that say,
Yeah.
I need help on improving my next gen's confidence and communication, in addition to helping her achieve some tangible outcomes, right, or something important. That all ties into this conversation. The soft skills part,
It does. Yeah.
it's so important. The mindset, the growth mindset, the soft skills, your strategic thinking, and the ability to execute, get things done. So
Mhm. Thank you for that reflection. I think, yeah, as the technology advances, returning back to the core of who we are as people and the teams and the founders we invest in, it's all so fundamental. And not all of those things can just be learned. Many of them are habitual. And
right,
so getting
and
people to be
right,
aware and break those habits.
right. One another way of thinking about AI is really augmented intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Use AI to augment your own intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Because AI, God created each one of us to be equal. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're equal human beings, but
Mm-hmm.
we grow to be unequal because a
Right.
billionaire is not. It's a little bit different than a guy. If you spend $15,000 on to pay for first class in Singapore Airlines, the guy who pay $1,000 economy, the guy cannot go up there and kick the first class passenger out, take his seat. That's
Right.
unfair. Okay, I
There
mean,
are systems.
so there's some distinction there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, there's systems and structure in place, some of them positive, some of them negative, some of them
Right.
creating limiting beliefs. And it sounds like you have to overcome the limiting beliefs in order to have this growth mindset.
Right.
It will be interesting. There's so many new AI solutions as well. Example I use every morning, I use the meditation app, and they have a new ebb where you can just conversate with it, and it asks questions, and it brings the conversation back to you, and very reflective and very helpful for the growth mindset.
That's extremely important point. It applies to everyone, whether you're a
Mhm,
billionaire or someone
mhm,
starting out, right?
mhm,
Meditate. I meditate day and night. I meditate
mhm,
in the morning. I meditate
mhm,
at night. My
mhm,
wife is an early bird. I'm a night person. When she's still awake late at night, I give her a
mhm,
dirty look because,
mhm.
I'm extroverted with people, but
Yeah.
I need my couple of hours of fully introverted, deep thinking, reflection, meditation time. I do that on a
Yes.
night. Even when I travel, I meditate still. And that somehow gives me of course, love is infinite. At the mafia, the Ma family, I
Yes.
got three values, right?
Yes.
Unconditional love, humor, sometimes bad humor. I'm the
Mhm.
factor of bad jokes, right? Dad joke everywhere. My younger daughter, I joke with her, that's dad joke 89, and high standards in what matters. So that gives me peace and joy and kindness and patience I cannot describe, you know. So spirit center is very important as well.
You are leading by example, and I think you are sharing those gifts as a mentor to others. For those who maybe don't have great mentors, or they need to learn, they need to be brought up to speed, what are some resources in terms of education? I mean, I know personally, I'm looking forward to this conversation you mentioned, Angelo, between you and Jason next week. Can you share more about the details, how people can join in and learn? Because I do think right now the best thing that we can do to arm ourselves is just to learn, to be open-minded, to adapt. And so I'd love to hear from both of you. I'll start with Angelo, but ways and resources we can learn right now.
Of course. And I don't want to bog down your audience with what I'm doing next week. I'll briefly mention it. They're here to get direct information now that could hopefully
Yeah.
impart value to them. And I know because you did lead with investments, they're definitely going to want something on that. And
Yes.
I know we don't have a huge amount of time left, but I am ready. And I am someone who's over 50% allocated on a
Yeah.
moderately substantial number in AI, usually in public companies. So I'm happy to share.
Please do.
Jason is going to be a guest on my at family office program. I believe the fourth time, as he noted, but it's been about a year and a half. It's coming up next Thursday. It will be live and recorded. I'm at family office on YouTube.
Okay.
We're both, I hope, deep thinkers, critical
Yeah.
thinkers. Some would say a little edgy and controversial because we
I
push
love
some
that.
boundaries and have certain opinions. But the issues that we're talking about today do need a deep discussion on the geopolitical landscape, Trump's policies, the impact, what's going to happen to jobs, the future of the economy. We got a massive debt. We're not producing enough. Manufacturing is weak. Energy, we're way behind China. So US and China. So we're going to get really, really deep. We're probably 80 to 85% aligned, but we are going to have some differences. According to some of you that watch, I'm a little bit combative in interviews. I don't know. I don't look at it that way, but you all seem to say that.
We
So,
need to
but
stand for something, and the truth is valued and appreciated.
Right.
and maybe I will give three quick tips. I could
Yeah.
actually do it in 1 minute, and then I'll let Jason answer the question. Then, if you want to wrap up with a little bit of an investment deep dive, I am
Absolutely.
ready. Too many families and users of AI are too locked into effectively OpenAI's ChatGPT. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it. It's good. As a modal platform, it's great. If you ever try the verbiage of talking into ChatGPT, it is the best
Mhm.
compared to the others. You could be on a car ride, be careful. You could have a 2 hour conversation. You could go back and forth. It practically never makes a mistake on what you say. But if you want hyper deep reasoning, Gemini's 3.0 is dominant. But my favorite platform, and I like Grok and I like Perplexity, I subscribe to the highest levels at all of them and I
Mhm.
make them compete. I yell at all of them, I make them battle. And by the way, I'm often disappointed in a
Yeah.
lot of feedback that I get, and I yell at it. I swear. Like it, my son said, be careful. It's going to remember this and one day come to get you. He might be right. Uh,
Yes.
but I got to be who I am. And I don't know, it seems to make it do better when I do that. I never settle for the first result. You
Yes.
have to learn how to prompt. If you're not a good prompter, you will never get good results from AI. You will think it's overrated and it sucks. I'm a great prompter and I'm disappointed more than I would like to be and need to prompt it more. But I did leave out one that I think is the dominant platform. Enterprises use it a lot, but it doesn't get as much love from individuals. Anthropic's Claude
Yes.
Opus 4.5.
Okay.
Opus 4.5 is great. And
Yeah.
if you learn how to Claude code and use all the valuable resources inside it and you know how to prompt, I am telling you, you have like at your right hand, like a 140 plus IQ genius that doesn't take hours or days, seconds or a minute. It's incredible. Now, you got to have the experiences and know how to use it. If you're not putting in multiple hours a day, you will never be good at this. And I know we don't have enough time. We're busy. You find the time.
Yes.
But I'm going to let Jason continue from there. Then I know you want to segue a little bit to investing, and I'm ready.
Yes.
Right. And to add to that, and remember, the generative AI, just one category within AI, because it's in the news all the time. Sam Altman, you got all these, Google talking, you got Elon talking, etc. You got the Anthropic guy talking all the time. So people watch the news, but listen, guys, it's far broader than that. Think about AI horizontal, vertical. There's a spectrum of species of AI. Think of it that way, okay? Now, because we use Gen AI all the time, and Angelo mentioned Gemini 3 is like, man, it's fantastic. ChatGPT is still King Kong when it comes to 2D language, right? But when it comes to, say, generating images and all that, Gemini is fantastic. And, Sora is not as good, I think. I think Grok is fantastic. Claude, like what Angelo mentioned, they really corner the enterprise vertical, especially finance. Very smart, right? So each one of them is kind of like each organizer. I speak in forums, family office forums. Each organizer's got their own personality. Each Gen AI's got their own personality. They're competing like heck. And all of them have spent billions and billions and billions on buying from Jensen Huang, buying data center capacity, etc. And what's the market value now for OpenAI? 500, 700 billion or something like that. They're still losing like heck because they have to spend. They can be losing money for years to come because they have to really pay for training, for processing, and all that. And there's so much peripheral opportunities on top of that. And there are other companies out there that are AI related that are pre-revenue, zero revenue, that are valued at $1 billion to over $30 billion. Wow. It's very interesting. So, for example, World Labs, Fei Li, right? She's pretty famous, very well-known Stanford professor, also former entrepreneur. And she's going to be, the data is not going to be 2D. It's going to be 3D. I'm looking forward to that. Just 4 months into founding with a concept, it's already worth $1 billion valued, right? Pre-revenue. There are companies like that out there. And some of them are very exciting because the problem they solve, the way they do it, the way they protect the IP, the market they'll go after, the quality of the human capital, the leadership team, the moats they have are spectacular, right? I'm building one of them right now, I think my own tech company is one of them at zero. We're doing something very different. But what I'm noticing is that the fixed mindset out there doesn't get it though, because some of them cannot distinguish between what we're disrupting and what we are not doing, right? So that's why the fluid critical thinking, the 4S and 3EQ is pretty important. It's like how do you? It's like engineering. Berkeley engineering taught me to be a great analytical thinker, great in synthesizing complex issues and simplifying that. And I've learned to communicate fairly well, I think, not as good as Angelo. And so all that has to be in your system, right? It's kind of like when people say, "Hey, Jason, you look so young for your age. I'm 1,000 years old. Because you're Asian, you look so young." I say, don't say that. Once you say that, it's an intellectually lazy reaction. It's a system. It's a system, right? Genes is only a minority of that, which, by the way, this relates to investment quite a bit. It's really a system. You have to have your spirit, your mindset, your skills, your strategies, which includes sleep, your diet, your fitness, your skincare. It's a system. So what Angelo is doing is that he's helping SFOs to really upgrade the system, if you will, using AI as a key tool.
Yes.
Individually and institutionally,
So when it comes to making investments into these very disruptive companies and the different layers, the different elements all associated with AI, I think Angelo takes a more public approach where, Jason, you're making more private, direct. When do you feel a family office, just their best bet is to go with a fund manager versus direct?
Very good question. A recent set of articles that I wrote is in fact titled "The Single Family Offices and Ultra Net Worth Individual Investors: The Rise of Smart Direct AI Tech Investing." And you'll find it on my LinkedIn. You'll find it on my family business 3EQ website, threeeq.com /events. That's my speaking calendar, and my news pieces on there as well.
Wonderful.
And so I got it published in Impact Wealth magazine, in Family Office Report, in Wealth Briefing Asia, Red Hot Monday magazine. Worth magazine wanted to have exclusive, no. And then some other ones have exclusive.
Well, now we get to highlight it here.
Right. And then I wrote an additional LinkedIn article on top of that, because I figured out, you know what, I forgot to put in two sections. One section is, when it works, when it doesn't work.
Yes.
And also some risk mitigations, right?
Okay.
So I think when it comes to private company investing,
yes,
you could invest, like pre-seed, seed. You heard that before. Series A, B, C. Yes and no. And my own tech company, we probably don't even need to have a Series A to become profitable this year. Okay, so there's a difference between institutional bureaucratic investors versus entrepreneurial investors. Being entrepreneurial investors, learn from Sequoia Capital. You have to have a visionary growth mindset, imagination, bet on the team, bet on something big, bet on something disruptive. What that means, Silicon Valley say it all the time, right? Disruption. That means that your venture is doing something big. You're going to be huge, right? In terms of valuation and market cap, you're going to make a lot of enemies, because you're going to be disrupting a large legacy industry somewhere in hundreds of billions or more. Okay, they're going to become your enemies. One reason I keep my tech company a little bit low profile is that we're seeing enemies already. But it's got to be something where you believe that, most importantly, the team can execute. If you don't believe in that, why are you even wasting my time talking to me? You see, you have to do that. When Airbnb and Uber presented themselves to these investors, it's actually very simple. We're doing something, they're doing something like Uber disrupted taxis.
Yes.
But did they go there and kill all the taxi guys? No, it's a polite solution where it became a better choice for consumers over time. Airbnb, it's a polite solution where it became a better choice for Gen Z millennials all the time, right? OpenAI came out. I'm not sure whether it's polite or not, but it actually disrupted search quite a bit.
Yes.
So Google woke up. Sergey Brin went back to work full time. He's worth only $200 billion, but without Sergey going back full time to work at Google, Google would not have accelerated Gemini to the state today, right? So all that factors in. So the human capital, I would say that's the most important thing. But the vision, right? What problem are you solving? How are you do better by far? What moats do you have? What's your system IP protection? All those things matter, right?
Very
so
important.
and lastly, in any important project, a lot of people don't think like that. The most important line items in the set of critical success factors in anything important, whether it's investing, building a company, building a venture, or whatever, is really timing. Timing is very important. Timing, right? If you're too soon, not the right time. If you're too late, you're too late, right? Timing is very, very important here. When it comes to funds, what I'm seeing is that more and more SFOs, more and more ultra net worth, is getting more and more direct right now because they're kind of sick of being locked up for 7, 10, 12 years. And the MOIC is actually not very high. You're lucky if you get 1, 2, 3x return
Yes.
in many years later.
Right.
And you have no relationship with the founders, with the entrepreneurs. And I hate to say it, but a lot of GPs play games, man. A lot of them are dumb as hell. A lot of them big ego. I'm being a bit blunt, but I see it all the time, right? Now, a few of them are good. Whenever my friend tells me that, hey, I want to start a new fund, I say, don't. How are you going to attract the best deals? Are you confident you're going to be in the top 3%, top 5% of all the VC funds out there? Because most of them actually underperform the market. So I'll stop there.
I appreciate it, Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you. Angelo, excited to hear what you have to add.
Of course. And I know you're, and I'm relatively flexible on time, but in trying to stick to your traditional timeline, I think I could keep it 2 minutes, and I'll allow you to final question or close things out. I would like to focus in on investing. The frameworks that worked for much of you the past 50 years, sure, some will still apply. I'm going to mention some, but many are about to come obsolete, and AI is changing everything. You almost have to look at public company investments. Does this business get stronger or weaker as AI gets 10x better every year? And that's going to change everything. I'm going to read off approximately. There is someone I follow. I'll give your audience someone they should follow and share. I interviewed him the last day of the year, so he was my last interview. His name is Jordy Visser, Visser. He's brilliant. I'm a big fan of Jordy, and I learned so much from him. I'll read effectively a comment. And that comment effectively begins with Warren Buffett, kind of an Elon. Buffett operates inside an existing system. His worldview is effectively incremental, familiar, and grounded, and respected in decades of capital allocation. But Musk and his unique political perspective, some would say, and how that clouds your opinion, it should not, is not just an observer, no disrespect to Warren, he's a builder. His career is one continuous streak of turning the impossible into ideas and industries, reusable rockets, mass marketed EVs, global satellite. Yet when Musk tells you what's coming next, his timelines could be a little off, sure. Humanoid robots, post-scarcity energy, optional work. Wall Street is slow and you don't listen to arguably the world's greatest allocator of all time. The markets need Musk to be wrong. There's a Musk discount. It exists because taking Musk seriously forces investors to confront what I deem to be an uncomfortable truth. In terms of public companies, things that I look at and families I talk to, what sticks? I think cash generation is always valuable to look at. Capital allocation mastery that I noted, like what I think Elon's very good at, is wonderful. And when you have a founder or a leader or CEO that has a lot of their net worth, Jensen Huang's the perfect example, like 99% into the company, that's a very, very good sign. What I think goes that I wouldn't have said 3 or 4 years ago, quarter by quarter growth analysis, traditional runways, assume long assumptions. I think what adapts, durability transforms completely, supply and demand dynamic shift. And the risk frameworks, I think they need to expand. And where AI changes things a lot, it's almost an AI leverage ratio. Inference, economics, data moat quality that Jason hinted at, speed to adapt, and human to human AI compatibility, for lack of a better word. I go back to how I started. Does this business get stronger or weaker as AI 10x's, even if it 3x's? Let's go with 10x. Makes my story better every year. So what you know about investing, I think everything is changing. I know the audience is like, sometimes hosts don't like it, so I'll start with a 10-second disclaimer. It's my opinion. I am wrong a lot. Now, I know I'm right directionally about AI, but who knows about timelines? And I invest, I do some things that have been great and some things that don't work out so well. But I would want to look at the energy. This is going to be a big year for energy, for
Mhm.
infrastructure.
Mhm.
I look at things like Occidental Petroleum, Transocean, Cameco, Centrus Energy, NextGen Energy, Vertiv Holdings, Rocket Labs, which is a little different perspective, biotech with Tempest AI,
Mm.
Powell Industries, TerraWolf, among the names you would all know. Yeah, of course, I like Tesla, I like NVIDIA, I definitely like Google, but I wanted to give you 7 or 10 names of companies that are probably under your radar. They're probably all volatile. Trust me, I know I'm invested in all of them. But I'm going to have some really incredible winners. Am I getting venture-like returns in public, very liquid markets? Yes. Is that going to last forever? Probably not. I don't know. But I do know what I'm doing now is working for me. Yes, I do leverage some AIs to help uh, process information, give me ideas, make decisions. There's ways you can incorporate AI in Bloomberg and PitchBook. And again, we don't have time. And honestly, some of that and some of what I just shared, I really save it for my members of my SFO continuity, my private intelligence and strategy community. But I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm happy to share some things I don't normally share as openly publicly, including naming some names. I'm excited to. I know we're going over time. I talk too much.
No, never. I need to have longer format when it comes to the depth of expertise you both share. And I can't thank you enough. I mean, I just love to be able to agree to disagree, to be able to talk about the uncomfortable truth. I mean, we need to have these conversations. People need to think about the future. They need to have a growth mindset. And I think when we do, we can really make a big impact and we can plan and build the needed infrastructure. And thank you for being so generous with our community, sharing things you wouldn't normally. I learned so much from you both and look forward to the future, continuing to learn from you, to collaborate. For those who are new to our community, these lunch and learns are a part of how our family office access community learns. We are very collaborative. Members come for the data and the search tools, but they stay to learn strategies and to have these conversations and really build relationships that form over time. So if you're newer to the Family Office Access community, I invite you to check out our website, familyofficeaccess.com. We have a free 3-day trial. You can get in, play around with the different tools. We actually leverage different AI so that it won't hallucinate. It's really been a fun journey to build. And as a small thank you for today's audience, if you are interested in becoming a member, we'll drop a coupon code in the chat. And I just can't thank again, Jason and Angelo, for your time, your wisdom. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I look forward to joining your conversation next week to keep continuous learning.
Well, it's been fun. Thank you so much for inviting, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you both.
Indeed. I appreciate, Danielle, your work in the community. You're incredible. I'm a big fan. And Jason's great as well. I look forward to our conversation next week. I learned so much from both of you, and I appreciate your contributions in the community that helped me. Thank you.
Aw.